Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Zhao with the Bird Street Bistro, here to answer all of your parrot nutrition questions. Today, I want to talk about one of the most common questions that I get asked, and that is, why won't my parrot eat anything else except seed? Today, I'm going to take you through the biology of why that is and what we can do for our parrots in order to get them on a better diet. As parrot owners, we're always trying to give the best care to our birds, and one of the most important aspects of that care is their nutrition. Nutrition is hands down the most important thing when it comes to our birds' mental, physical, long-term health. And so it's really important that we're making sure that we are feeding our birds the right food and meeting all of the nutritional requirements so that they're able to live a long and healthy and happy life. However, for many parrot owners, in their journey to try and improve the diet and nutrition of their pet parrots, they find that their parrots are not willing to eat these new items that they introduce. So today, I want to talk a little bit about the biology behind why that is and what we can do in order to introduce these new items to our parrots' diet. In the wild, when parrots are born and hatched from the egg, they are fed exclusively by their parents. Then, when they leave the nest, they do not go about it on their own. Instead, they follow their parents around and observe what they eat, copying and mimicking their behaviors, and in turn learning how to identify which items are food and which items they should avoid. This is a very crucial learning period for these parrots, and for most parrot species, this is about a few months after fledging. For some of the larger parrot species, this can be as long as 1 to 2 years. And so during this crucial learning period, this is when they're learning what is and is not food, what they should eat and what they should avoid. And the reality is that parrots rely heavily on their vision in order to identify what is and is not a food item. So if a food doesn't look like something that they already recognize, they are going to refuse to eat it. And this is something that they evolutionarily evolved because it is favorable for them to be this way. If they were to go out and test and try every single bit of foliage, some of those bits of foliage would be toxic, and it's not something that they should be eating. So these animals have evolved to learn how to identify what is safe to eat and how to eat those items by copying their parents and copying the family group. Now, how does this relate to our parrots in captivity? For most parrots in captivity, this beginning of their crucial learning period actually falls with the breeder. They fledge from the nest at the breeder, and it is the breeder's responsibility to put that parrot on a good diet, introduce them to a wide variety of foods from the day that they fledge. Unfortunately, it's still very common that the vast majority of breeders are not doing this and are not introducing a proper diet to their parrots when they're first fledged from the nest, and as a result, a lot of the burden of introducing these new food items fall onto the owner that they later go home with. Now, one of the major challenges is that once this parrot goes home to the new owner, they do not recognize any of these items that the owner is trying to introduce. And on top of that, they are now missing their crucial factor, which is their family group. So one of the things that can happen is that they can go home with a new owner, have never seen any of these new food items before, and struggle to learn these new foods. Now, does that mean it's too late to introduce new foods to your parrot? No, absolutely not. It is never too late to introduce new foods to your parrot. Parrots are highly intelligent and capable of learning for the entirety of their lifespan. It may take a little bit longer to introduce new foods to a parrot who has never experienced any other items before, or a parrot who is a bit older. However, every single parrot is capable of slowly moving to an improved diet. And so there are a lot of different ways that even after their crucial learning period, parrots learn to identify new items as food. And so if we look at those items, that will tell us a lot about how we can introduce new foods to our parrots. Knowing all of that, there are several tips that I can give you in terms of introducing new food to your pet parrots. Since we know that the main problem is that they don't know these items are food, then what we're trying simply to do is to teach them that these items are actually edible, that these items are actually food that they can eat. And we can do this in several ways. Number one, start with foods that look very similar to what they already recognize. This is one of the reasons why I tell people to start with Bird Street Bistro if they're struggling with food introduction or diet conversion. Bird Street Bistro looks very similar to food items that they already recognize if they've eaten nothing but seed in their life. Bird Street Bistro is a series of cooked grains and vegetables, and it looks a lot like what they already recognize. So it's going to be much easier for your parrot to come to the conclusion that, hey, this is a food item, I should try and eat this, and you can start getting the momentum rolling in terms of introducing new foods. Number 2, start with food that tastes good. Parrots are extremely intelligent, and some are more adventurous than others. So that means that if they've never eaten anything new in their life, and the first time that they try a new item, it doesn't taste that great, they're eventually going to get frustrated and stop wanting to try new things. So it's important to start with something that you know tastes good and they're going to enjoy, so that you can get some momentum and they start getting in the swing of trying new things, because they're anticipating that trying new things might be something that's very positive and something that they enjoy. Again, this is a big part of why I recommend people try a little bit of Bird Street Bistro when you're starting with food introduction or diet conversion, because Bird Street Bistro has a very high palatability. It means that it tastes good. And so when your parrots are first trying a new food for the first time, they will get excited that this food tastes good and be more willing to try it again in the future, and be more willing to try other new items in the future. Number 3, allow for social eating. Parrots are flock animals, so they often like to do things in groups. If your parrot is bonded to another individual in the home, whether that is another parrot or a human being, it often helps for you to explore that food together. If your parrot is bonded to another parrot, try offering the Bird Street Bistro or new food in a bowl that is flat or wide enough for both birds to comfortably eat out of it at the same time. That way you have 2 parrots who are encouraging each other to try this new food. If you have a parrot that is bonded to a person and they enjoy trying what you eat, put a little bit of Bird Street Bistro or the new food on a plate and pretend to eat it, and see if that will encourage them to try it as well. Number 4, offer it somewhere familiar. If your parrot has a bowl that they recognize, that is the way that they get fed every single day, put the new food in their bowl so that they're more likely to make the connection that this is food, this is something that they can actually eat. Number 5, choose the appropriate size for the parrot that you have. I see very, very frequently that people make the mistake of offering a huge pile of food to a bird that's a little bit hesitant to try new things. It's a lot more intimidating for your parrot to try and take a bite out of this giant pile of food if they're hesitant. So instead, just take 1 serving and offer just that much to them. If they liked it and they want to eat more, they can always go back and you can serve them more. Also, if you have a smaller parrot, you might be interested in chopping up that new food a little more finely. So for example, some of the Bird Street Bistro mixes like hearty veggies have whole lentils in them. So after they're cooked, you can chop them up and then offer it to your parrots. I personally have budgies. Whole lentils are a little bit large for them to eat if they've never eaten it before. So give it a quick chop and then offer it, and that tends to help a lot. Number 6, this is a great way of introducing fresh produce if your parrot already recognizes Bird Street Bistro and is very, very comfortable eating their Bird Street Bistro. You can finely chop other types of fresh produce into their Bird Street Bistro, mix it together, and offer it. This is a great way to introduce new items using a food that they already recognize. This is a great way of offering dark, nutritionally dense leafy greens like dandelion greens, kale, bok choy, and there's so many more. You can chop them up really, really fine, mix them in with the Bird Street Bistro that they're already familiar with, and get them to give it a taste. Once they taste it and they realize, oh, hey, this green thing is also food, you can start chopping it less and less or offering it in different formats and see if they're willing to try it as a whole food item. Once your parrots learn to love Bird Street Bistro, you can also make a game out of it. You can hollow out some veggies like a jalapeno or a zucchini, and you can stuff the Bird Street Bistro into that and let them use it as a foraging toy or a different type of enrichment item. You can even shove that into their toy instead of offering it into a bowl to help them make it a little bit more exciting. Well, that's all I have for today. Hopefully these tips and explanations helped you get a grasp on how to introduce new foods to your parrot and get them on their way to a better diet. Thank you for joining for this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.